Hi, I'm Weston. I love talking about the Rangers. And I'm here to recap Game 47 of the regular season. Rangers lose 3-2 over against the Flyers. And man, this one hurts a lot. There's nothing I can say. This game just hurts, and it's going to hurt. And it was pretty much an impossibility at this point to make the playoffs anyway. It was going to be very, very difficult to make it with 10 games left, especially when you still needed to make up 6 points on Boston. I think 8 on the Islanders going into this little stretch, and 11 on the Penguins. But a game like this doesn't help. We lose. Boston, I think, now has an 8-point separation. I can find that out by the end of the video. The Flyers, or not the Flyers, but the Penguins and Islanders both have 11 points on us. And it's not impossible, obviously. It would have to be a 2-game sweep against the Bruins to end our season, and then they would need to lose at least 2 other games in regulation between now and the end of the season, which I think they've only played. I think they're going to have 2 more games after us. So I think we have 9 games left. They have like 10 or 11. So it is possible. Like it's in the realm of possibility, but it's going to be nearly impossible at this point to make the playoffs as the Rangers. And I'm going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about that at the end. But on to the actual game. Igor Shesterkin got the start in net. I thought he was amazing. I thought he was fantastic. First period, 12:10 left. Slashing on the Flyers, the Rangers would get a power play, and the first power play looked just horrendous. It was bad. They could barely establish any zone setups. It was just bad. It was a very bad first power play, by the Rangers. But as soon as the power play was over, Hedl has it. He passes it over to Miller. Miller passes it to Brendan Smith. He starts to move in, fires, and he scores one to make it 1-0 relatively early on. Gets it past Elliott, which the fact that Brendan Smith has been the majority of our offense for the past 2 games is that should tell you basically everything you need. And I like Brendan Smith a lot, but he's the big offensive output right now. That's not going to be much good. At 7:59, Philip Hedl, man, almost had the goal of the year for the Rangers. Dipsy doodled a guy, just embarrassed the guy, and almost put it past, hit the crossbar. Like, it was so close to make it 2-0. And if it goes in, if it's 1 inch over, who knows? Who knows what happens in this game? C'est la vie. That was not the only missed opportunity the Rangers would have in this game. At 6:13, Brendan Smith would take a penalty for interference, which, yeah, it was interference, but usually that doesn't get called. And I'm not saying, I'm not even complaining about the refs, because honestly, the Rangers deserve to lose this game 100%. But that's usually not called interference, so I don't love that call there, especially in a close game like this. And again, it wouldn't really affect anything because we didn't, give up a goal in the power play or anything, but I didn't love the call. 5:05, unreal save by Igor Shesterkin. Getting over, completely just leapt off from one side of the post to the other. Makes a fantastic save with his pad to rob a goal to keep it tied. At 4:31, Fox and Rooney would actually get a 2-on-1 going into the offensive zone. But there would be a hooking call on Adam Fox, or on the Flyers against Adam Fox, which would put the Rangers on an upcoming power play. It would be 20 seconds of 4-on-4 hockey, and then a Rangers power play for 1:40. So that's great. That's good. Maybe we can get something out of it. And we wouldn't. That was about it for the first period. A pretty good first period, all things considered, for the Rangers. I thought there were a few missed opportunities for them, but all in all, it wasn't a bad first period. They got the only goal. Shesterkin was very good. But, there was a couple of penalties there for the Rangers, which wasn't great. Or a penalty, excuse me. And then the second period, which was the meltdown period, right? This was the start of the end for the Rangers in this game. Early on, 12:47, Kreider got a hooking call. Flyers get a power play out of it. And Shesterkin, this was hilarious during the game, feels the puck get past him. Like, he knows it's past him. And I don't know if it's that he didn't want to give off the fact that he knew it was behind him, and if he turned, he would turn us back to the play, and maybe they could get it past him. But he just kind of falls backwards on the puck to just freeze it and to stop play, which is one of the funniest techniques I've ever seen to pause play, of just timbering back like a tree falling to get on top of the puck to pause it. Beautiful highlight play by Igor Shesterkin. 11:05, Flyers would hook Brendan Smith, so it would be 4-on-4 for about 20 seconds, and then the Rangers would get a power play, which is deja vu. A little bit later on the power play for the Rangers, man, 9:46, this sucked. Brian Elliott absolutely glove robs Artemi Panarin on a goal that would have made it 2-0. There were so many chances like this for the Rangers that could have made it 2-0, or in this case, if the Hedel thing would have happened, 3-0, and if there wouldn't have been the hooking on the Adam Fox things, 4-0. And my gosh, this was an easy winnable game for the Rangers that they just couldn't do. A little bit later on, 8:15, hooking on Brendan Smith. Cool, Flyers power play. A little bit later on, 4:17, Adam Fox for high sticking, which is just, that one was hard. And on the power play for the Flyers, this was hard to watch. A shot deflected off of, I think it was Ryan Lindgren, the shaft of his stick, bounces into James Van Riemsdyk, and just bounced off like the chin face region. I think it was right about this area of the face, and right past Shesterkin, which there's no goalie clinic that's going to teach you how to defend goals and pucks that are deflected off of someone's face. Like, I'm not upset about this. And James Van Riemsdyk fell hard to the ground. I thought he was out for the game. Like, I didn't think there was any chance he would come back, and he would, and he would kill the Rangers a little bit later on. But this was a hard goal to watch for him. So they score, they tie it, but at what cost? You know, if you're Van Riemsdyk, I mean, I guess you win the game, and you had 2 goals in it, so, you know, you're probably kind of happy. But that happens. A little bit later on, 2:09, another great save by Igor Shesterkin to keep it tied, moving from his left to right, just stopped it. I completely thought the puck went in. I thought it was in. I didn't think there was any chance he could get there to stop it, and he did. So that was fantastic. And then, basically at the end of the period, 54 seconds, Leibor Halak, and I get it. You're trying to stop a breakaway, and you're usually taught to do this. You know, if you can't for sure stop it, try to hook him. So he would not get a penalty in a power play. They got a penalty shot against the Rangers and Igor Shesterkin. This was the first penalty shot of Igor Shesterkin's young career. And I mean, my God, he made it look easy. It was a fantastic play by Igor Shesterkin to perfectly read it, stay with him. Like, this was such a good read by him, and such just perfect movement, how he stayed with it. This is what you want to teach people how to do against penalty shots. Like, this is going to be film that you'll study of how to defend against penalty shots. It was perfect by Igor Shesterkin. It looked easy, but if you know the intricacies of hockey, and I know people do, that, you know, I would assume that we all do know the very intricate things of hockey, where if you just look at this on the surface, it just seems like, you know, a pretty decent play. But he just stayed with it so well, and he made a few moves on Shesterkin, and he couldn't get it past him. Just a brilliant save by him. And that was it. This was an absolute horrible period of hockey by the New York Rangers. 3 penalties, plus the penalty shot, and it was awful. The only reason the Rangers were still in this game after 2 periods was because Igor Shesterkin decided to play Dominic Hasek Simulator and drug their butts into the 3rd period, tied 1-1. And in that period, it would be the end of the Rangers. This would pretty much be the period. I don't want to say the period that ended the season, because it's not over yet technically, but this was a hard period. While and nothing. And then 11:46, Keandre Miller high sticks a Flyer, and he knocks a couple of teeth out, which in any other sport is not just a mundane thing to say. However, we're talking about hockey, which is basically MMA fighting on knife shoes. So it's a double minor, but he still gets to stay in the game, which is the only sport that can happen in. But it's now back-to-back power plays for the Flyers. And we kill the first one off, right? The first one is done. Second one, almost immediately. We'll soon thereafter. This was fantastic, though. 9:45, Igor Shesterkin, a brilliant glove save, which all the more impressive is that he had it lined up. The guy takes the shot, deflects off of a man, and moves maybe this much over, and Shesterkin just perfect reflexes to get the glove over there. And that is that's unteachable. That is just a fantastic. I sound like I am sucking up to Igor Shesterkin so hard, man. But gosh, seeing a goaltender play this well is just exciting for this franchise for the next, hopefully, decade and a half. Unreal save there. And then 9:31, an unstoppable tip by James Van Riemsdyk. And I'm not angry. This was just a really good play by him. Now he has a goal scored with his face and a stick in the same game. So that's a positive if you're James Van Riemsdyk. So now it's 2-1. And again, this one I have a hard time saying this was Shesterkin's fault because it was a tip-in, and it was a perfect tip-in at that. A little bit later on, Voracek fires one in, 5:53 left, 3-1. And look, would it have been nice if Shesterkin could have came up with a save there? Of course it would have been. It'd be nice if a goaltender could come up with every save. But this was a 2-on-1, and the only one we had back was rookie defenseman Zach Jones making his NHL debut, which, by the way, I thought he played fine. Like, this was not his fault. I wouldn't say it was either of their fault. I thought this was just a bad play on the defense in general that gave up the 2-on-1. And, yeah, if you have Voracek, who I believe has been in the league for quite a while now. I'm not super familiar with a ton of Flyers players, but I do believe Voracek has been in for a while now. And you have him go against, Zach Jones, who's a debuting rookie on a 2-on-1. This is a normal outcome to get. Now, Panarin would, I think with like a minute and 10 left, minute and 12-ish, get a one-timer to make it a one-goal game. So the Rangers almost came back. I think this is one of our first goals that we've scored with our net empty, because to this point we've been pretty much pacifists on the 6-on-5 empty net skate. But we actually got a goal here to make it closer. But that was it. That was it for the game. And you have a hard time saying that isn't it for the series, or for the season, excuse me. Like, this is a hard game to lose. It really is. This was a 4-game stretch, 2 against the Flyers and 2 against Buffalo, that you felt they really needed to take all 4 against to keep the playoff chance alive. They are now 8 behind Boston and 11 behind the Penguins and Islanders, respectively. And with only 9 games left for the Rangers, there's not a lot of room to make up those points. I think it's not a possibility at this point to get the Penguins or the Islanders spot. I don't think either of them can fall off at this point. It would be historic collapses for either of them to lose out the 4th spot. So realistically, the only path you have to the playoffs now, if you are the New York Rangers, is the 4th spot and the 4th-seeded Boston Bruins, who you do have. Granted, you have a 2-game series against them at the end of the season. So that can be a 4-point thing. But that depends on you sweeping that little 2-game stretch. But the problem is there's still 4 other points, so 2 other wins that have to be found in the last 8-9 games. Which, granted, I think I already mentioned this. I do believe the Bruins have a few extra games than we do. But this isn't much. That you're going to have to pick up a few points against them. And just, you're down to such a tight stretch that it's going to be really hard. I do want to be correct here. The Rangers have 9 games left. The Bruins have 11 left. And in those 9 for us, 11 for them, you have to pick up 8 points. Which is, it'd be very hard. I want to briefly, and this is going to be sort of a live thing, I want to briefly look at the Boston upcoming schedule that they have for their remaining games. So they have Buffalo again tomorrow. Good Lord. They have Buffalo again tomorrow. Pittsburgh, Buffalo, a back-to-back against the Devils, and then the 2 games against the Rangers. Then Islanders and Washington on back-to-back nights. So maybe if they lose both games to Pittsburgh coming up Sunday and next Tuesday, and then Rangers take both games, if they could lose against the Islanders and Washington, they would have to, because the Rangers can't run the table at this point. So realistically, if we want to make the playoffs, I'm just sort of doing this in real time, which is probably annoying and stupid, but I'm going to do it anyway. Rangers would have to run the table, and the Bruins are going to have to lose both games against Pittsburgh, and then one of the two, realistically, since the Rangers are probably not going to run the table, lose one or two of the back-to-back to end their season against the Islanders in Washington. And if they could lose another one throughout there in the, 1, 2, 3 games they have against Buffalo left, and one of the two against the Devils, would be about the only way you could make those points up. And I know every season feels like it comes down to this for the teams that are on the outside looking in, but there are so many winnable games we've had to this point, and this game was a winnable game. Discipline was just a big issue for this game for the Rangers, and it is a huge bummer that you can't come up with this game. But that's about it. Yeah, that's it for the game. I want to say this. I liked the line change a lot. I liked Lafreniere on the first line with Zibanejad and Buchnevich, and I liked the third line moving Kreider down with Capo Caco and Filipino. I liked those a lot. Specifically, I thought the third line, Hedl, Caco, and Kreider, I thought that line was doing very well. I thought they had quite a few chances. Capo Caco, I know he hasn't done much point-wise this season, but his game is so much better than it was last year. You can look at it from just how he's shooting, the confidence level, but also how physical he is with the puck right now. And with his size and certainly his strength right now, he's impossible to move off the puck when he goes into the offensive zone. I've noticed that all year long, but especially the last few games and tonight. If he gets on top of the puck and he's in the offensive zone, you can't get him off of it. The only way you're getting that puck is if you can somehow get it out from his stick. You can't move him. Like, he is basically a brick wall, which is very exciting to see him sort of developing now into a good player. I thought he's looked good recently, and again, he hasn't really cashed in point-wise, but that's just such a nice part of his physical game that I wanted to mention. And again, I love the line change. I'm actually praising, to an extent, David Quinn. But again, this was just an awful game to lose, especially at this point in the season, where I hate saying season over, especially with 9 games left, but you have a hard time saying anything else, especially with how tight this is coming. You know, how tight and slim the margin of error was for the Rangers in these last few games. Sadly, that's it. That's all I got. This is a hard loss. And hopefully, God, I would love it so much if they can prove me wrong and have all of these stupid things that I said come back to slap me upside the face and somehow run the table and make the playoffs, which is really what you got to hope for. But only thing we can do now is wait and watch the last few games unfold. So that's all I have for today. Thank you all so very much for watching. I hope you all have an absolutely fantastic day. And as always, go Rangers.